Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at that current watches and warnings map across the region. You can see here in toward that brownish color on the screen. That's a fire weather watch in play for your Wednesday afternoon. There are windier conditions coming into play here, coupled with some low humidity values. Got to be kind of careful there across these areas as we're looking further on off toward the Tallahassee area and toward south towards there as well. And then in that darker blue there is a freeze watch for Thursday morning here, going from about 2 to 8 a.m. as we're looking up toward Albany and Moultrie. I know it's been warm out there, but we're seeing those cooler conditions on the horizon. Some areas already cooling down. Some will cool down a good bit in the northwestern counties tonight in comparison to some of the counties toward the south and east. But as we're looking toward Thursday morning, that's going to be the coldest and maybe a freeze here, a first freeze here of the season as we're looking toward areas like Albany, Moultrie here. So that's something to kind of keep your eyes on as we're looking at things toward parts of the viewing circle. So just want to let you guys know about that, get you guys aware of that potential as you're looking there. Again, a freeze watch as we could see some sub-freezing conditions there as we're looking toward those areas at least closer to freezing. I know right now, I mean, it's a lot different story than what that is suggesting and what's going to likely take place here toward our region. As we go ahead and jump on over right now toward the current rate or the current temperatures, you see 60s here toward parts of North Florida right now. That's the predominant story. A 57-degree reading there in Gadsden County, and in Georgia, mainly 50s. So you see 40s here as I go ahead and move the map up a little bit. You can see there as we get just north of the area, 49 at Fort Benning there right now in Georgia. So again, that core air with those winds coming from the northwest, that's on the way here. A core pattern for a little period here, getting that frontal system to come on through, and this overall pattern to bring that on in. Not really seeing the rain with this though, which is some good news here in some ways. You don't have thunderstorms or severe weather, but of course, that fire danger could be an issue between about, it looks like, based on the alert from the office in Tallahassee, 12 and 7 p.m. there on that Wednesday. So you got to be careful there. Really don't want to do any outdoor burning there as we're looking off, really anywhere in our area, but especially out toward the Tallahassee region and Albany area there. But then also, really just got to be careful with like cigarettes and the like here, because it may only take a small spark to really have some problems here. So you got to be really careful as we're looking out toward the west here as we get toward that Wednesday. We'll continue to watch things. We'll continue to monitor things here in that regard. So very gusty winds. As I see the elevated photo weather risk just coming in from the Storm Prediction Center. They don't generally see those around our region, but that just came out there for that day one outlook. So just got to be careful with that. Low humidity values, gusty winds, some gusty winds, maybe over 30 miles an hour in some cases here. And then those temperatures cool as well here. That overall pattern is to drier air mass coming in for a bit. It's not going to last too long here. It's kind of how it works sometimes in North Florida. Not always, but in general, it's not going to last too long as you see here in that full forecast. But latest information does coming in. Again, elevated fire weather risk as we get toward that Wednesday there, and in the freezing conditions for a few of us as we're looking out there toward that Thursday morning. Not so much in North Florida with that, but we're going to be seeing a pattern here. We're not going to have like frosted advisories for areas that are getting further down toward the south. I mean, the overall windy pattern here, I mean, that doesn't necessarily favor frost anyway, but we'll watch. But as we're looking like towards dark, not really expecting that to be a predominant story here anyway, whether the winds are an issue with that or not. The temperatures are going to be quite cold enough for that as we get further down toward the south and east here. So let's go ahead and pull up some graphics, talk about the tropics too. I know we go from warm air to the cold air, but still talking about the tropics. It's hurricane season now that we're just past Halloween there, per se, in the Eastern time zone. Hope you had a great Halloween, a happy Halloween. But as we're looking at things here on this name list, you see Vincent Whitney here, the next two names, and we may get an alternative name list. We'll just wait and see here. I know as we're looking at things with this, and we'll go ahead and show you right now. Tropical climatology, the peak hurricane season already passed here a little while back, but we're just going to keep looking at things here in November just in case. Had storms like Hurricane Nicole last year, Hurricane Kate in 85. So just have to be kind of careful. Of course, Nicole hit around Central Florida, but impacted us here with some very gusty winds and some issues there at Daytona Beach, and that area they're already hit by Ian there, and that aggravated things for sure. I know that area and really caused a worsening situation. Category 85 was a Category 2 hurricane that hit up toward Tallahassee, so that was even later in the month. That was past Veterans Day even, with Category 85, and the coldest before Veterans Day last year. A little bit weaker, but still consequential. So we still got to watch things here. Hurricane season isn't done. The chances of a storm here in the basin are less. And that El Nino pattern in the Pacific is where the patterns generally shift, but warmer water temperatures still an issue. But we have some shear around. Hopefully it'll keep things at bay. But we are watching some stuff out there, talking about your tropical weather outlook. Late Tuesday update, you can see a 60% chance there of development as we're getting further on down in the basin. We'll watch that right now. I'm going to be headed more west. We're just going to make sure it doesn't tug back north at some point here. Some of the models have hinted at something doing that here eventually, so we'll have to watch this pattern just in case here. So right now, nothing to worry about, nothing to turn our logo red for, but we can't completely let our guard down here yet. So let's go ahead and go to our next 7 days of the rainfall forecast. You can see overall rain chances and rainfall amounts don't look too high here. You can kind of gather all this here just from this graphic. As you see, quarter half inch there in a few spots, maybe toward north central, northeast Florida, but overall lesser amounts are the story. As you see, cloudweather.com/radar gives an interactive look at things when we're not in the air. And honestly, this here may be kind of telling a story where we'll have to raise the rain chances just a bit here on a day at some point if we get a little more confidence in some of the modeling. But it's not that big of a deal here as we're looking at things. Of course, we'll keep an eye on our 62 counties. We'll watch for that threat here as well. Hopefully we don't have any concerns with any wildfires, but we don't want to see that. But we'll continue to monitor things here just in case. As we go ahead and go to the extended forecast now, you can see 5% chance of rain on that Wednesday, 10% on that Thursday there, 20% on that Friday, going up to 30% on Saturday. You see the temperatures there as the rain chances go back to about 20%, but temperatures are warming up. I mean, go from the temperatures that are going to drop below average here on that Wednesday. I mean, even this morning, you saw the warmer air now, but it's going to fall pretty quickly here. Some areas, I mean, we're talking about North Florida. I mean, it's a situation here. North Central Florida, we're not going to be as cold as other spots, maybe just lower 50s, but some of our areas in the northwestern zones may drop in the upper 30s here this morning on this Wednesday morning. But Thursday morning, we have 39, so coast area is still staying warmer, but those inland zones here, I mean, you're talking about temperatures as we're looking. It's kind of tricky in some ways because we'll have coastal areas in the 40s, 50s. I mean, it's not going to get as cold there, maybe. I mean, some spots, I mean, just the overall wind pattern, I really keep them warm there relatively and relative to everybody else. But talking about areas there in toward South Georgia, where we could have some lower 30s there, close to Albany, and I mean, that'll be something interesting here as we have that freeze watch in play. That would justify temperatures at 32 or below for a little bit of time. It's the first freeze potentially, so that's why there's going to be a little more emphasis eventually in the word the season. Wouldn't be issuing those up in that part of our region, but toward Albany here. Just be careful. You got to be careful with those plants and the like because first freeze can be an issue. That's toward areas there, possibly of Baker, Georgia, Ben Hill County in Georgia, Calhoun, Clay, Colquitt. In fact, as I'm showing you this, I'll go back to it in a moment. But let's go to a map since I'm reading off all these counties. Just want to see you guys where these are, really, since some of you guys might not be as familiar with everything geographically. So we're talking about Baker, Georgia, Ben Hill, Calhoun, Clay, Colquitt, Daugherty, Early, Irwin, Lee, Miller, Mitchell, Quitman, Randolph, Terrell, Tip, Turner, and Worth. That's from 2 to 8 a.m. on that Thursday. Here, that freeze watch is continuing and could, at least for some, if not all areas there, get upgraded to a freeze warning. So we'll monitor that here carefully. But back to the 7-day we go now. You can see here again that cold air is not going to last too long. But Friday back in the 70s here, that's the predominant story. And then you see by Sunday into the 80s here again, those lower 80s. It's going to get warm here, folks. And after this fan's back on here, ironically, as we're looking at things, you might hear my computer fan in the background. But yeah, it's just a coincidence there. But just the storyline is the overall situation as we're looking at things. It will be getting warmer out there again as we get towards Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So again, we'll just continue to look at that. I mean, and rain chances, we'll see if maybe later in the week, next week, if we get too warm here, again, I mean, we got lucky in some ways. You do want rain, you don't want wildfire danger, but didn't have the thunderstorm activity with this cool down. But the next cool down, it doesn't always stay that way here. What we could have when you have these contrasting air masses, eventually in the El Nino pattern, like what we had earlier back in October there, a few weeks ago, you could have a severe weather pattern set up again, like we had all those tornadoes there. Toward areas like Citrus County, Flagler County, and then even toward areas there like Pinellas County, as we were looking back into toward that timeline. So just have to be kind of keeping that there in mind as we're looking at things here, as we're looking at all the different metrics and the information and the like here. And I mean, even this pattern too, in theory, not that it will with the setup exactly, but in theory, it means that hurricane season still isn't quite over, even for us if we get this warm here. The pattern, if we got that kind of overall pattern there in play, we're warming up again, and it doesn't completely shut down that threat here toward North Florida and South Florida. So we'll keep watching. I mean, we like the warmer weather. They're going though from we've been above average to below average back there to above average here in terms of those highs by a few degrees, lows near maybe just slightly above average there, depending on where you're at. But that will be as maybe interesting because once you see 80, that's pretty warm here for November, but not just out of the realm of possibilities, of course. But as we're looking at things here, I know Saturday night you'll get that extra hour of sleep here as well as you turn those clocks back. Make sure you check those with the radio batteries then, and go ahead and change those if you need to. Same with the smoke alarms and the light there. So just something to kind of keep in mind as you're looking at this extended outlook there. Always good to do as we're looking at things. And I know college football will be this weekend here as we are looking at different things. FSU, they'll be taking on Pittsburgh there. Oh, watch that forecast. Haven't seen anything too crazy up there at this point. And then the Gators will be taking on Arkansas home. So well, that looks pretty good for that. Maybe a passing shower, but right now nothing too overwhelming in that regard. So the Jags on a bye week. I know World Series still going on in baseball as well. Those are indoor stadiums there per se. I know the weather is really kind of inclement in the region of Dallas, Fort Worth back over a Friday, Saturday period. The roof was closed, but they actually have had it open there in Arizona here because the weather's been pretty good out there toward the west. So that's kind of been noteworthy. Rangers with a 3-1 series lead there. The Texas Rangers there. They're going to try to win it without having to even go back to Arlington there as they try to win Game 5 there in Phoenix on Thursday night, or on Wednesday night, excuse me, as we're looking at things. So I know just looking here at different maps here and the like, and you can kind of see, let me go ahead and say here out toward the west, you can see much colder than north, but around areas of Phoenix, you see 70s there, the overall pattern as definitely an interesting contrast in that state as we go ahead and look at things here. You can see all this cool air in the upper Midwest and the like, and had some snow there, some college football action in Michigan, and up in towards Chicago, and some snow as well that put us in winter mode. You can see some of that there. See some of that in western Pennsylvania, West Virginia right now even. You can see that western areas there in New York. So you kind of get the idea as we're looking at different things with some of those snow flurries that being reported, light snow being reported by some of those METAR sites as we're looking at things, some accumulating snow in spots even. So that's definitely a storyline in towards some of those communities. But not seeing that around here, not going to have that around here as we're looking at things, in the days to come. So that's kind of storyline there. I mean, we'll see here this pattern that can kind of favor wintry weather getting further south at some points later on as we're looking here in the months to come, but nothing of any type of immediate interest in that regard. As we go ahead and look at things here, let me go ahead and see if there's any questions or comments or anything like that from any of the viewers there at home as we're kind of giving you guys the latest information there on this Tuesday night. So I don't see anything in that regard. So I think I'll be about ready to wrap it up, Roy, as we give you this overview of things. You see 40s around Atlanta. Most of Alabama there are pretty cool right now. I mean, mostly 40s there, even some 30s in Mississippi. That kind of tells a story as we are kind of looking at things here. Again, just kind of giving you a rundown on everything. Of course, that freeze watch and play. Could get upgraded to a freeze warning for some of our Georgia counties there. We had that fog in play last few mornings in spots, if not many spots. But that's going to kind of relax now with this pattern, different wind pattern coming in. It's a different type of set of drier air employing. That's why we have that fire danger here too. So we'll watch that again. I hope you had a great Halloween night there. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here across the region. Definitely always interesting to do that here in the Weather Center. And I think that'll be pretty much doing it here for the time being as we look at everything that we have here. Everything to talk about in toward our Weather Center. You see Facebook there, Casey Cloud React, Cloud Weather, Twitter at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Twitch there, Cloud Weather, cloudweather.com. So a lot of different platforms there for the weather information. And we're back here with your latest full forecast here, late Thursday for now. Have a great night, everybody. And as we go ahead and just leave you with this view, you see that wind direction kind of a sign of that cool air coming on into the picture here, that dry air coming on in toward our different counties here across the region. As we've talked about, we'll just continue to see the progression of that as we look here and Thursday morning being the coldest, but we'll start to moderate in the days to come.